Let's dive right in. Today, we're taking a look at something incredibly ambitious for our explainer on the modding scene. We're talking about a massive undertaking that attempts to completely rewrite the DNA of a gaming galaxy we thought we knew. Enter the Star Wars Genesis Total Conversion mod for Bethesda's Starfield. I mean, just imagine taking everything you know about that massive sci-fi RPG and trying to seamlessly swap it out for the most iconic universe in pop culture, a galaxy far, far away. We're not just talking about a few reskinned blasters here. It's a monumental effort to completely overhaul the entire experience from the ground up. But that brings us to the central question we really need to grapple with right off the bat. What actually happens when you force Starfield to wear a Star Wars coat? As we look at the source playthrough from Captain Shack at the XP Gamers, you instantly notice this constant, fascinating tug of war. On one hand, you have this incredible expectation of stepping into a gritty, deeply immersive Star Wars RPG. On the other hand, well, you've got the undeniable and often super janky reality of a heavily modded game engine desperately trying to keep up with that fantasy. It's a literal collision of massive ambition and hard technical limits. So let's get into Section 1, Nailing the Visual VOD. First off, this mod completely recontextualizes the game's narrative tone. Think about vanilla Starfield for a second. You start with Constellation, right? They're this group of upbeat, super chill space explorers. But in Genesis, through a wild mix of clever modding and AI-generated voice lines, that exact same starting archaeology group is transformed into a ruthless, highly illegal operation. Suddenly, you aren't waking up in a bright, pristine maintenance building. You are operating deep in the creeping, dark back alleys of the Coruscant Undercity. The vibe shift is absolutely dramatic.
And as you explore further, you hit these visual wins that honestly just feel perfect. One minute you find yourself wandering through a beautifully realized rebel base on Dantooine, complete with those iconic Y-wings parked right on the landing pads. The next, you're equipping incredibly detailed Durasteel Mandalorian armor sporting custom community colors. Now, it might not be pure Beskar, meaning you definitely aren't invincible, but aesthetically, it makes you feel exactly like a legendary bounty hunter stepping straight into the fray.
Stepping into that universe also means dealing with a completely overhauled economy. To put it into perspective, it will set you back exactly 150,000 credits just to buy your very own fully flyable X-Wing. The mod fundamentally rewires the value of ships and items, dropping you into a galaxy where iconic single-seat fighters are top-tier investments that easily cost way more than the massive multi-crew ships do in the base game.
Which leads us to Section 2, Clashing with the Engine.
Because underneath that shiny Durasteel armor beats the clunky, bug-prone heart of Starfield. Look, I think we all dream of a game where the physics are implemented to be the perfect match for the Star Wars universe, right? A game where Jedi mind tricks seamlessly alter NPC behavior on the fly, and that crazy over-the-top action flows without a single hitch. But the reality here is wonderfully absurd. When you try to force a tiny single-seat fighter into an engine specifically designed for walkable multi-crew ships, things are going to break. If you forget to tell your companion to wait behind, you will literally find yourself in high orbit, flying a nimble X-Wing, while your companion Ordo is just riding on the hood. It is a hilarious reminder of the game's structural bones. Actually, just operating a vehicle without completely breaking the game's physics requires a bizarre set of specific instructions. To even get into your 150,000 credit X-Wing, you can't just walk up and climb a ladder. No, you have to stand outside, stare at the nose cone at a very specific angle, and wait for a boarding prompt to briefly flash on the screen. And whatever you do, do not naturally try to jump out of the ship when landed. If you do, you will literally fall right through the floor into the digital void. And this friction with the engine extends to your crew, too. You can recruit an authentic Ostromech droid, a complex, expensive piece of machinery that fans have literally always wanted as a companion. But currently, once you pay that hefty sum to recruit it, it effectively becomes a rolling paperweight. It just wanders around the ship doing absolutely nothing. It's an incredible visual that right now just lacks the mechanical depth to back it up. Moving on to Section 3, Hilariously Lethal Ground Combat. The combat balance in Genesis has been completely inverted. This is no longer your standard Bethesda RPG where you just chip away at spongy enemy health bars over time. It has been transformed into a brutal, lightning-fast shooter. Even a player with absolutely zero combat skills can instantly vaporize a target with a scatter blaster, literally two-shotting high-level enemies. But, fair warning, it goes both ways. You can also be one-shotted from across the map by a stray pellet before you even know you're in danger. Because combat is so fiercely lethal, surviving requires a bizarre and very specific tactical loop.
You don't really gain meaningful health from leveling up anymore. Instead, your life depends entirely on three things: equipping the absolute best Durasteel armor you can find, constantly stacking food and back to sprays for that sweet healing over time effect, and most importantly, chugging Trandoshan Ale right before a firefight. Why the ale, you ask? Well, drinking Trandoshan Ale gives you a massive 75% damage resistance buff that lasts for 3 minutes. In a game where literally everything can double tap you into oblivion, this one beverage becomes arguably the single most important defensive item in the entire game. You essentially have to go into every major battle fully intoxicated just to survive the scatter blasters. Now, the arsenal you're wielding to dish out all this damage is a total treat for franchise fans. The mod pulls in awesome custom weapons from other classic Star Wars games. You can equip the T-21 rifle from Star Wars Galaxies, wield a D-10 pistol, or snipe enemies with an E5S. But again, you kind of have to embrace the jank here. You'll often find yourself reloading a revolver as if it has a bottom magazine, all because the custom Star Wars weapon models are still being forced to use Starfield's vanilla reload animations. It's a bit goofy for sure. Which brings us to our final part, Section 4, the roadmap to version 10. First things first, if you actually want to jump in and play this right now, you need to clear your hard drive. You will need a staggering 250 gigabytes of storage space to play this. That breaks down to 150 gigabytes for the base game of Starfield and another 100 gigabytes just for the Genesis mod files. It is a massive, sprawling project that really underscores just how much data is required to overwrite an entire universe. And that file size reflects its ongoing evolution. As the mod creator makes very clear, this is very much a work in progress. The current experience is a chaotic, sometimes crash-prone sandbox. It's a foundation, really. The real goal is to follow the developer updates as they march toward a much more stable, polished version 10.0 release. This mod is an incredible proof of concept that is actively being refined to smooth out those rough edges. Which leaves us with this final, lingering thought. We've seen the breathtaking highs of flying an X-Wing past a rebel base and the utterly absurd lows of your companion awkwardly riding on its hood. It's a spectacular clash of expectation versus reality. So, I'll leave you with this. Is the ultimate Star Wars fantasy, the dream of totally unbridled, over-the-top sci-fi action, worth fighting the ghost of Starfield's engine to experience today? Or are you more than willing to just wait for the polished galaxy yet to come?